Ayanda was just 22 when she married Zulu in the quiet town of Kitale. The wedding was small but beautiful. Friends cheered, family danced, and Ayanda smiled like every girl dreaming of a happy life. She believed she had found the man who would love and protect her forever. Zulu looked kind, spoke softly, and held her hand with care. Everyone said she was lucky, and for the first few days she believed it too. But it didn't take long for the smiles to fade. Just a week after the wedding, things changed. He came home angry one night. No explanation, no reason, just rage in his eyes. The first slap shocked her more than it hurt. She stood frozen, hoping it was a mistake. But then came the shouting, the pushing, the cruel words. And soon it was fists. Fists that didn't care about her tears. Fists that made her flinch at the sound of a door opening. She tried to talk to him, to ask why, but his voice only grew louder, scarier. Apologies followed, fake and short, but the bruises stayed longer than his sorry. She hid the marks with makeup, wore long sleeves in the heat, and smiled for photos that felt like lies. Every night she prayed he would stop. Every morning she woke up to pain. What started as love quickly turned into fear. The man she married had become a stranger, and her new home, a war zone. Every day felt the same for Ayanda. She woke up early, cooked breakfast, cleaned the house, and waited for the sound of the door, the sound that meant he was home. But it wasn't joy she felt, it was fear. Her heart would race, wondering what kind of mood Zulu would be in. Would he yell? Would he throw something? Would his fists find her again? She lived in Nakuru now, far from the friends she once laughed with. Her world had shrunk to 4 walls and endless pain. The house, once meant to be her safe place, had become a cage. She barely recognized herself anymore. Her laughter was gone. Her dreams felt like memories from another life. The neighbors could hear. The thin walls didn't hide the screaming, the crying, the sounds of broken things. Sometimes a window would slam. Sometimes Ayanda would scream out loud. But no one came. No one knocked. People turned their music up, closed their curtains and looked away. Silence was safer than getting involved. Even when she found the courage to speak, it didn't help. She called her mother one day, her voice shaking, eyes full of tears. "Mama, I'm scared. He hits me," she whispered. But her mother sighed and said, "Just be patient, Ayanda. All men are like this. Marriage is not easy." The words crushed her. If even her own mother wouldn't believe her pain, who else would? So Ayanda stayed. She stayed and cried into her pillow at night, hoping for someone, anyone, to help. But help didn't come. Only more bruises, more silence, more days of pretending everything was okay when nothing was. She learned how to smile in front of others while breaking inside. Her voice was fading, her hope was shrinking. And in that house, the house where screams were normal, Ayanda was slowly disappearing. Ayanda thought maybe, just maybe, pregnancy would change him. She believed that once he knew a baby was coming, his heart would soften, that he would stop hurting her, that he would see her not just as his wife, but as the mother of his child. For a moment, she even saw hope in his eyes when she told him the news. But it didn't last. The violence didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. He yelled louder, hit harder, and now, when he hit her, she wasn't the only one in danger. She would hold her belly with both hands, trying to shield the tiny life inside her, but he didn't care. One night, during her 7th month, he came home angry, again. She didn't even know why. She tried to stay quiet, tried to walk away, but he grabbed her. She begged him, "Please, not now. Think of the baby." But he didn't listen. He kicked her hard, right in the stomach. Ayanda collapsed to the floor. Everything went dark. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Her body ached everywhere. A nurse was holding her hand gently. The doctor looked serious. "You're lucky," he said. "Another hit like that, and you both might not survive." Still, when her mother came to see her, the words were the same. "Endure it," she said. "He's your husband. Think of your child. Stay strong." But Ayanda was tired of being strong in silence. She was tired of being told to suffer just because she wore a wedding ring. She looked at the ultrasound photo they gave her. Her baby, still alive, still growing. She promised that tiny heartbeat one thing: "I will not let you be born into this pain." It was in that hospital room, with bruises on her body and tears in her eyes, that something inside her started to change. She wasn't just a wife anymore. She was a mother, and she knew she had to find a way out for both of them. That night, Ayanda knew she had to choose, stay and die, or run and live. Her face was bleeding, her feet bare, her body weak, but her heart was strong enough to try. It was just after midnight when she quietly opened the front door. The house was dark. Becky Zulu was asleep, drunk and snoring. She didn't take anything except the small phone she had hidden and the clothes on her back. She didn't even have shoes. She ran into the night, every step hurting, every shadow making her jump. She didn't know where she was going, just away. Her feet cut on stones, her breath short and sharp. She followed the road, hiding when headlights came close, afraid he might come looking. Her hands were shaking, her body still bleeding from the beating hours before. But she didn't stop. After what felt like forever, she saw a parked bus near a small station outside town. A man stood next to it, sipping tea from a cup. His name was Mwangi, and he was a night bus driver. He saw her, this broken, scared woman hiding behind some shrubs. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days, her face swollen, her eyes full of fear. He didn't ask many questions. He just said, "Come, sister, you're safe now." He gave her a jacket to cover herself, a bottle of water, and a piece of bread. She sat in the back of the bus as it rumbled down the road, heading toward Kampala. She curled up on the seat, warm for the first time in days. No fists, no yelling, just quiet. That night, for the first time in years, Ayanda slept without fear. No bruises, no tears, just peace. It wasn't just an escape from a house. It was an escape from pain, from silence, from death. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time she had hope. That ride with a kind stranger changed everything. And that night, the girl who had once only survived started to live. When Ayanda arrived at the women's shelter in Kampala, she was still scared. Her body was healing, but her heart was full of wounds no one could see. The shelter was quiet, filled with women like her, some with babies, some with broken bones, some with eyes that had forgotten how to smile. At first, Ayanda didn't talk much. She kept to herself, sitting in corners, holding her belly, listening to others, but saying nothing. Then one evening, during group therapy, a counselor gently asked her, "Would you like to share your story?" Ayanda's lips trembled. Her voice came out as a whisper, just a few words, but it was enough to open the door. The other women nodded, some with tears, some with quiet strength. No one judged her. No one told her to endure. For the first time, Ayanda felt heard. Day by day, her voice grew stronger. She began to speak more, not just in group meetings, but during workshops and support groups. She talked about the pain, the fear, the night she ran, and the moment she chose to live. Her words were raw and real. They didn't sound like a speech. They sounded like survival. Soon, her story began to spread. A local women's rights group invited her to speak at a small event. She stood on stage, hands shaking, heart pounding, but when she opened her mouth, the room went silent. People cried, people clapped. Some were angry at what she had endured. Others were inspired by her courage. That day, something changed. Ayanda realized her story could do more than heal her. It could help others. It could warn, teach, and empower. She was no longer just a survivor. She was becoming a voice for the voiceless. At the shelter, younger girls started coming to her for advice. Some called her sister. Some said, "Because of you, I won't go back." And that meant everything. Ayanda had once been silenced by fear. Now, her words were giving others the strength to leave, to speak, to fight. She had found her voice, and she was using it so others could live. One afternoon at the shelter, a friend named Lillian, who volunteered there, asked Ayanda if she could record her story. "Just speak from your heart," she said. Ayanda nodded. She sat on a wooden bench, took a deep breath, and began to speak. No script, no edits, just her truth. The beatings, the fear, the pregnancy, the escape. Her voice cracked, her eyes filled with tears, but she kept going. When she finished, Lillian hugged her and said, "The world needs to hear this." They uploaded the video on social media with the title, "He broke my bones, but not my spirit." Neither of them expected what happened next. Within hours, people started sharing the video. Comments poured in, some from women who said, "This is my story too," and others from men saying, "I never knew it was this bad." The views climbed fast. 1 million in 2 days, 3 million in 5. People from all over the world were listening. Ayanda was shocked. She had spent so long hiding her pain. And now millions were seeing it, but instead of feeling shame, she felt power. The truth that once hurt her was now helping others. Donations started coming in. People asked, how can we help her? Some sent money. Others offered to build safe houses or provide counseling services. Survivors reached out from Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, even the US. Her inbox was full of stories and thank yous. News stations picked up the video. Reporters called. Activists wanted her to speak at rallies. What began as a simple story recorded on a phone had become a global movement. Ayanda wasn't just a face on a screen anymore. She was a symbol of strength. And with every view, every message, every donation, she saw something growing, a mission. She decided to use the attention not for fame, but for change. She said, if my pain can save even one woman from going through what I did, then it was not for nothing. The video that showed her bruises also showed her bravery, and in sharing her truth, Ayanda lit a fire. After her video went viral, Ayanda's life changed completely. Invitations started coming in, first from nearby towns, then from cities across Africa. People wanted to hear her speak in person. They wanted to see the woman who had turned pain into purpose. At first, she was nervous. She had never stood on a real stage before, never spoken to crowds of hundreds or thousands. She didn't have fancy clothes or a polished speech. But what she did have was truth, and that was more powerful than anything else. She walked into rooms where people whispered as she passed. Some looked surprised. They expected a speaker to look polished, untouched, perfect. Not a woman with visible scars, deep eyes, and a calm but powerful voice. But the moment Ayanda began to speak, the room always went quiet. Not a phone buzzed. Not a word was whispered. She had their full attention. She didn't use big words. She told her story the way it happened. Real, raw, and full of emotion. People cried. People stood up and clapped. Women came up to her after saying, "You gave me the courage to leave." Men said, "I want to raise my sons differently now." Soon she was flying to countries she had never dreamed of visiting. South Africa, Ghana, Rwanda, even the UK and France. She spoke at women's conferences, youth forums, schools, and even government panels. Every stage she stepped on reminded her she was no longer a victim. She was a voice. Some people doubted her at first. They thought she was just a woman with a sad story. But Ayanda didn't need to prove anything. Her strength spoke louder than any doubt. She stood tall, proud of every scar, every tear that got her there. She often ended her talks by saying, "I didn't ask for this pain, but I choose what I do with it now, and I choose to speak." Ayanda became more than a survivor. She became a speaker, a leader, and a light for others still trapped in silence. And everywhere she went, she carried one simple but powerful message. You can break the cycle, and your voice can save lives. When Ayanda's story spread across the internet and onto television screens, it didn't take long for people to ask, who was the man who did this to her? At first, Becky Zulu denied everything. He told anyone who would listen that Ayanda was lying, that she made it all up for attention, that she was trying to ruin his name. He even told the local news, "I was a good husband. She just wanted to embarrass me." But the truth has a way of coming out. Old neighbors in Nakuru started speaking up. One by one, they shared what they had seen and heard over the years. The screams, the bruises, the nights Ayanda ran outside in tears. One woman said, "I regret not helping her, but I won't stay silent anymore." Another neighbor said, "He hit her even when she was pregnant." We all knew. Then came the medical records. Broken ribs, bruised skin, a hospital report that said clearly, physical assault during pregnancy. The evidence was there. Her pain was real. And suddenly, Becky Zulu had no more lies to hide behind. Police opened a case. He was arrested and brought in for questioning. His job fired him the same week. His boss said the company didn't stand with abusers. His friends stopped picking up his calls. His family was quiet, embarrassed. The man who once controlled Ayanda's world was now losing his own. Now, when reporters show up, he hides his face. He avoids cameras. He walks fast through the streets wearing a hood, head down. People whisper when they see him. He is no longer feared. He is ashamed. Meanwhile, Ayanda stands tall. She speaks into microphones. She hugs survivors. She appears on news shows, her face calm and full of strength. She is proud, not of what happened, but of what she survived and who she became. The same world that once looked away from her pain now looks directly at her story and sees a hero. And as for Zulu, the man who once silenced her now lives in silence, while Ayanda's voice echoes around the world. After everything Ayanda went through, she knew her healing wasn't just about herself, it had to be bigger. She remembered the nights she slept hungry, bleeding, afraid. She remembered the women in the shelter who held her hand, the stranger who gave her a ride, and the people who listened when she finally found her voice. So she made a promise to herself: no woman should ever have to go through what I did and feel alone. With the donations from her viral video and the support of kind people from all over the world, Ayanda started something powerful. She opened her first shelter in Kampala, the city that had given her safety. She called it Ayanda Rising, a name that meant survival, strength, and starting over. But she didn't stop there. Over the next few years, she opened 12 shelters in 5 countries: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and South Africa. Each shelter had warm beds, clean clothes, food, and something even more important: hope. These weren't just places to hide, they were places to heal. Women who walked in with fear walked out with strength. Each Ayanda Rising Center offered legal help for women who wanted justice, therapy for those carrying silent pain, and job training so they could stand on their own feet. Some women learned to sew, others became cooks, drivers, or small business owners. Many said, "This place gave me my life back." They began calling Ayanda their second chance. They would say, if she could rise from her pain, so can I. Some named their daughters after her. Some stayed and helped run the shelters. It became more than a network. It became a sisterhood. Ayanda visits the shelters often. She sits with the women, listens to their stories, laughs with them, cries with them. She tells them, "You're not broken, you're rebuilding." And those words stay with them. The woman who once had nothing, not even shoes on her feet when she ran, now builds homes full of light and love. She didn't just rise. She reached back and pulled others up with her. And every door that opens under the name Ayanda Rising reminds the world a survivor can become a savior. Today, when people drive through cities in East Africa, they see her face on giant billboards, not as a model or celebrity, but as a voice of change. Ayanda, once a broken, bruised girl hiding in fear, is now a symbol of strength and hope. Her message is simple, but powerful. Raise your daughters to speak, and your sons to never silence. She didn't just survive abuse, she turned it into a movement. Schools have started putting up her quotes in classrooms. Some even invite her to speak to young girls and boys, teaching them about respect, kindness, and courage. Her words are now printed in textbooks and painted on school walls. Silence is not peace. Speaking up is power. She leads campaigns across Africa that reach millions. On buses, posters, and even TV ads, you see her, standing tall, eyes full of fire, reminding everyone that violence is never love. She visits villages and cities, talking to parents, leaders, and teachers, helping them understand that the change must start at home. Every time she steps on a stage or speaks into a microphone, people listen, not because she's famous, but because her story is real, raw, unforgettable. She is living proof that a woman can be knocked down, but still rise higher than anyone ever imagined. Ayanda was once silent, covered in bruises. Now her voice echoes through streets, classrooms, and homes. And because of her, thousands of women have found the courage to walk away, to speak up, to live again. She's no longer hiding, she's everywhere, reminding the world that pain doesn't get the final word, strength does.